Hi, welcome to Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier. On this episode, we have a filmmaker. He's a very good friend of mine. We're going to talk about a new project by him called Higher Methods. His name is Nathan Suher. Nathan,
hello.
How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. And we've known each other for a while, and this is really cool. I'm really happy for you that you have your new feature film. You said it's about 82 minutes long, called Higher Methods. And what state with Higher Methods are you at right now, Nathan?
Well, we are entering post-production. We had a 19-day shoot, which lasted throughout the beginning of this year, 2017, 14, 15 days in January, a couple days in March, and a couple days in July. And we have a rough cut assembled, but now we are fully entering post, where we are getting into trying to get picture lock, trying to get sound design in, music composition. There's some special effects. So we're up to our neck in that process right now.
And this piece was based on a stage play written by a friend of mine, Lenny Schwartz.
Yes.
Leonard Xavier Schwartz, sometimes he's known. But,
yeah, this was a play about 5 or 6 years ago,
right,
which had a short run, I think 5 or 6 shows or so. I never saw the play, which is kind of funny because, I started working with Lenny on collaborating with him about 4 years ago, and we did a short film about 3 years ago. I can't say the title on
sure.
on this, but if you Google it, you'll find it. But we did a short film together, and it was a big success. It was a holiday horror comedy,
right,
kind of like Gremlins. Yes. And
scary little such and such.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And, from that, we found out that we really have good chemistry and really liked working with each other. So, after that was done, I went back to him, do you have anything else? And I'd be interested in if you have any features. Because, at the time, he had done 2 or 3 features with another local filmmaker, Richard Griffin, who he did Normal for Murder University, and there's Accidental Incest was another one. So he's had several of his plays and scripts, turned into features before. So I really wanted to take a look at some other work that he has that hadn't been produced yet, which was very different. Some of those other ones were kind of horrors or comedies, and this was pretty much a straightforward thriller mystery, which really enticed me because I had never done anything like that before. Done a lot of comedies and dramas, and we did like a horror comedy, but this was a very, very different type of film. So
let's check out the preview before we get too deep into it, so people can get a visualization of what we're talking about. Let's check out the preview of Higher Methods right here on Messier Mantra.
And then I saw her. No movie screen.
You're an actor. You go around life as a blank canvas, waiting to paint yourself onto a character, someone who isn't you.
You're lucky you got into this class. He's here.
John Edward Marcus.
Best acting teacher I've ever slept with.
The moment for screen actors is the moment when you appear on the other side of it.
John Edward Marcus said that.
I'm sure he did.
There is nothing original anymore. Nobody is unique.
We're the future of this business.
Future looks dark.
And they betray you.
I'm counting on it that you do. I'm tired of your games.
Games? We haven't even begun to play. You're done. As a performer, as a human being, if you aren't doing your part, you're useless. I want you to tell me what your pain is.
Higher Methods, the preview, directed by my guest here on Messier Mantra, Nathan Suher, once again. And I really liked that preview. As watching it made me think, back in my own, life and just being around New England film scenes for a while, that the quality of work has really improved overall, in a general sense, from things that I was seeing 10, 15 years ago, or even being involved in myself. But this looks really good. I mean, the lighting looks really great. The music, the score for the preview sounds really good. I don't know if you use the same music or same musician for that score in the whole film. But there's a lot of very professional elements coming together here. And the acting looks great, too. I know some of the actors, Abigail Jean Lucas, who's been on Messier Mantra, she's great. And she has a lead role in this, too.
Yes. Yeah, you know, when I was assembling the team and the pieces of this movie that we're going to, you know, the cinematographer and the actors, I wanted to make sure that whatever, this is going to be my first feature film,
right.
It's not going to look like a backyard indie. It was very important to me that whatever I have to do to get the best people I can woo into this or afford to hire for this, that I bring in. I didn't want to like cut any corners as far as that, because there's a lot of things that I could be doing that would have saved a lot of money or would have saved time. But I really felt so strongly about this story and in this movie that I wanted to put the best people I can in place. And Ken Willinger was our director of photography, and what he did with lighting and the work he did in this blew me away. It was better than I ever could have imagined.
I think he did some great stuff in there.
He did. And the music, Timothy Fife scored the music for this trailer. He is also going to be doing the music for the feature yet. We haven't even really dived into that fully yet, but he's on board to do that. And the cast really was the most important part of it. You know, having professional actors that believed in this story as much as I did.
Right.
And, you know, nobody was getting rich on this movie, of course. This is still, at its core, you know, a very low-budget, shoestring budgeted indie feature. But having the right people in place that would do anything, you know, for their performance was key to this whole thing. And you mentioned Abigail. She was one of those people that I had never even met before until she came in to audition. And me and Lenny were at the casting, and we looked at each other afterwards and like, she's just absolutely amazing. Her intensity is unrivaled by anybody I've ever met. So we knew immediately she's in this movie in some capacity. Aaron Andrade, who is John Edward Marcus, who is like the cultish acting studio leader, which is a funny story regarding him, because, you know, we talked about this being a play originally, and I never saw the play. But when I read the script, you know, I knew it was once a play, but I'm reading it and I saw this character of this acting, this fanatical, over-the-top acting studio teacher, and the first person I thought of was Aaron. And another person who I'd never worked with before, but I just knew in my mind that he was perfect for this role. I call him up. I get his phone number. I actually call him up. And I said, I have a script I'd like you to read for, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I tell him it's higher methods. Like, Nathan, I was John Edward Marcus in the play. Of course I'd be interested in this. So I'm like, what? So, but the essence of the story is that I didn't see the play, and I told Lenny, I don't want to know anything about it. I didn't read a single review. I didn't want to know anybody that you cast, because I didn't want any preconceived notions of who I should be thinking about as I'm reading the script. So I went in blind, completely blind. But him reprising his role, he said he really loved doing it, and he was able to do a lot more with it. I interviewed him kind of like what we're doing now about a week ago, and I asked him about, you know, compare your performance in the play versus this movie. And he said, well, number one, this was, being in a movie version of this, he was able to be a lot more nuanced with it, which is obvious. You know, when he's performing on stage, he's got to give the same people in the front row the same performance as people in the back row. So it was a lot of ways, it was a lot bigger, of course, but he told me he loved being able to really turn the John Edward Marcus character into a much more creepy, nuanced type of performance. So it was a lot of fun for him. And I have to mention the two other people that are leads in this movie. Jamie Lynn Bagley, who I've been a huge fan of for a while now. I saw her in a couple of Lenny's plays in the past, and I knew immediately that she'd be great for this. And she blew us away at the audition as well. And maybe the sweetest person I've ever worked with on set. She is just so much fun and great to be around. And the other, and I can't forget, our lead actor is Michael Cristoforo, who grew up in Boston, but he lives in New York right now. He sent over a video audition, and I actually have no idea how he even learned about the casting for this, but I just received a video audition in my email box, inbox one day, and he read some lines for it. He asked to read some lines for it, but he sent me back a video, and it was amazing. He again blew us
Gentleman
away.
with the full beard.
He's got this full beard. And the funny thing was, when I cast him, he didn't have this full beard. It was kind of this, his headshot. He's kind of like a little scruff. Remind me a lot of, who's the actor that was in The Sopranos, the younger guy?
Michael, I know, his name is Michael.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well, yeah.
But you know, he had embodied a lot of his characteristics,
Right.
and had a lot of charm, some swagger to him, but also kind of a, you know, it's not necessarily an attitude, but
An edge.
an edge to him, and yeah, a little something unhinged.
Midnight New York City
but,
edge.
but couldn't get unhinged easily,
Right.
and I liked that about him. But he showed up with this big full beard, and like that's not how I actually envisioned it. But we were so rushed to get the first shot up that day. Like, let's just go with it.
Right, no
you
time
know,
to
we're
shave,
going,
yeah.
You got this big beard, that's fine, and it worked.
I kinda like
worked.
it.
And so yeah, so that's our main cast, and it was so great working with all
Now,
of
when
them.
you say a 19-day shoot, Nathan, was that, did you, just some people out there do make their own films or would like to, and 19 days, that's pretty impressive. Did you guys shoot 19 days straight? Did you have a couple of weekends off? Did you shoot on the weekends? Is that, how?
We shot most of it, 14 of those days over a 16-day period in January.
Okay.
We started around January 7th or 8th, and we took it to like the 21st, something like that. And we only had 2 days off in the middle of that. And that was just mental health days for the most part.
2 days off back to back?
No, just
okay.
in the middle. We had a random Tuesday and a random Thursday off
Sure.
the next week, just so that we're not working like 14,
Right.
15 days solid. Because, you know, we're doing 12-hour days. And
Yeah.
you got to keep the energy up. And, you know, this was a wonderful crew and set to be on, and nobody that I know of had a negative experience on it. But still, you need to be able to,
You need to
take
breathe
a day and breathe.
seeing the same people 12 hours a day, that's going to wear on
And
anybody.
this is one of the
yeah.
advantages if you can do things over a weekend, where you get
Right.
a couple days in, then you go back to your normal life. But I knew that was going to be tough for me, that I had to do this over a tight period of time, because I didn't have my weekends necessarily free to do this over 2-3 months, which is what it would have taken. I work a regular job, and I'm working, you know, I'm gone a lot doing that. To then, on top of that, be gone every single weekend for 2-3 months would have really taken
Right.
a big toll on my family. And, you know, at the time, you know, we had a 5-year-old at the time, and we were expecting another daughter to come within weeks after that. So I couldn't have done that. My
Right.
wife was 36 weeks pregnant at the end of this, or whatever. It was
Right.
it was crazy timing.
it's
not
even-
not advisable necessarily.
It's
to
even
make
harder probably to make the movie once the baby's been born.
Yes.
As opposed to when your wife is still pregnant, at least, okay, she's pregnant, but...
That
you
was a
know.
whole story, and we're
remember that,
getting
yeah.
very personal now.
Yeah.
But originally, you know, I was going to make this movie over this past summer.
Right.
But you know, when we found out we were having another addition to our family, like, it's going to be hard to like be gone for a big chunk of time with an infant in the house.
Right.
You know, so like we had a discussion, what if I get this done before the baby comes?
Right.
And I got kind of a mean look still, but you know, I got the thumbs
But
up.
you still made the movie, yeah.
Get it done, Nathan. Just get it done and be done with it. So,
Well,
the funny thing is that
yeah.
it's never really done, because
Right.
we had to go back into production in March for 3 days.
Right.
And we did 2 more days this summer over a weekend.
Now, was that because, and just for helping young filmmakers out there, was that because shots you might have missed, or you just ran out of time, or was what made you go back?
Yeah.
Just because people are interested in that stuff.
Well, no, it's important, because one of the things that a lot of filmmakers do is they underestimate exactly how long it's going to take to do things. And
Right.
I was very aware of, you know, keeping things in as few locations as possible, so that we maximize our time on set. We're not doing company moves during the middle of the day, because that can just kill the momentum.
Right.
But in the end, I kind of put the burden on myself, is that I made the mistake of not scheduling enough days to begin with. We needed probably 17 days, and I only scheduled 14 days, anticipating that we will find a way of making up the time and getting it in there.
Right.
But once I realized that, I could tell after like the first 2 days that nope, we're not gonna get everything done in 14 days. I knew that immediately, and I immediately started turning to the important cast and crew. You know, what is your schedule looking like the rest of the year to
Wow.
make up these days? So yeah, it was a result of, I'd say, less than stellar planning on my part, a little overambitious. But I wasn't really in a position to like tell my crew. I mean, I was, but I didn't want to tell them, listen, you know what? let's cut some corners. Let's speed this up.
Right.
Let's take out scenes, because everything that I was seeing in the dailies that Ken was shooting and the actors were doing, you know what? Everything was going at the pace it needed to. They were doing. If I had interfered, let's go. Let's move it along. Let's cut this out. Can
Right.
we chop this up? Can we just shoot it now? I wanted to give them time to do it right. So I gave everybody breathing room, and I knew that this was going to cause me to have to shoot stuff later in the year, but it was worth it.
Oh, were you the
worth it.
director and producer, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
a tough thing because,
Wearing two
and
hats.
that's something we can talk about too, because that's a subtle. It's not even a subtle nuance, but for those that don't know the difference between a producer and a director, what's your take on that as applies to yourself?
Well, you know, at this stage of the game, it's very hard to not wear both hats.
Right.
This is my first feature, and a lot of people that are making their first film or even short films do wear both hats, and you have to, because the number one reason is it's hard to find somebody else as a producer who I can't pay. I couldn't
Right.
pay somebody to producer, but what is their level of interest going to be? Are they going to put in the time, the energy, and the passion into this to do the film justice? And finding a partner, finding a producer that can do that is very hard to do, which is why, it's just another hat that I had to wear, because the budget was so small. I couldn't bring on somebody to do that. I got plenty of guidance from people from the community that gave me a lot of advice on how to produce this so that you're not losing your mind. And the thing I did most that I'd say was most helpful was, number one, casting the right people, bringing in the right crew, bringing on strong assistant directors, strong people that knew their department as well as anybody could, so that when we were on set, I didn't have to wear my producer's hat that much. They
Right.
knew what was going on that day. The wardrobe person knew what they were doing. The sound guy knew exactly what he was doing. So these are all things that when they got to set, they've been in this before. They've been in a situation before. They knew exactly what they were doing. I didn't have to step away from working with the actors or doing whatever my directorial duties were to put out fires. I had strong people on set that knew what they were doing.
Chris Esper was involved?
Chris Esper was my first AD.
Yeah,
and technically, he is my co-producer on this. He supported me throughout the entire process, pre-production,
Right.
and during production and post-production as well.
Chris is a great guy.
He's a great
been on
guy.
the Messier Mantra, and I always like working with Chris myself. So that's good to
Yeah.
know that he was with you.
Yeah, he was there every single day. He was there. He was doing the call sheets.
Right.
He was the guy putting out the fires when anything did happen. But he was also wearing the hat as a first AD. So there really was no dedicated producer on set. So it was a collaboration of me, Chris, and Evan Schneider was my second AD,
Right.
also doing sound. So it was good though. It was a good core team, and again, a DP, Ken Willinger, that knew what he was doing, and I didn't have to really get in anyone else's mess
Right.
to manage them. Everybody really owned their job and did it. And that's what my best advice is anybody that's making a film, whether it's a short or a feature, is putting the right people in that know what they're doing.
The best times
Yeah.
I've ever had directing is when I can show up on the set and I feel like I don't have to do much of anything because all the other human people, the human elements, the DP, the actors, they're already prepared and they're all kind of like they want that ball to run with it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh wow, I did do the prep work, and that feels good. It's not always like that. Sometimes you get these crazy situations and you have to be, figure it out. But
Exactly.
those moments when you can kind of breathe and let your team do their thing and you can kind of just enjoy it. That's great.
And I knew going into it that the crew they're going to be the backbone of this movie, because we never actually did rehearsals.
Okay.
We never, because Mike is in New York and all my actors are kind of spread out around New England. We had table reading in about a year ago in November. That was the only time we had the entire cast together to read it and listen to how it sounds. Does our story make sense? Is everybody comfortable with the material? Do
Right.
you have any suggestions? And we did this over 5 or 6 hours, and then we were done. And we never had real rehearsals. So we did a lot of, last-second preparation when people are doing the lights and doing sound, like, you know, we're writing lines together. And I was heavily involved in that aspect of it, because that's the only thing I really couldn't have done ahead of time.
Right.
So I let the crew do their thing, and they knocked it out of the park.
I was checking, I mean, just watching the preview, it seems, this is a compliment, it seems like they did rehearse, because it seems like the actors are all kind of engaged in their characters. And I've seen a lot of independent, locally made films, and I've been a part of them too, where you can kind of get the vibe, like people aren't really, and that goes overlooked sometimes, that the actors aren't really engaged or understand or have a motivation, that cliche, what's my motivation? But you should have a motivation.
Yeah.
In this preview, it looks like everybody does.
It's casting.
Yeah.
It's really casting. And I can't emphasize enough, I know I've done lots of short films. I've never worked on something where the cast gelled so well together.
That's good.
And it was scary, because, you know, there was so much riding on this, and I put a lot of faith in the actors that they were committed to this, and they were going to kind of work autonomously away from me, with each other. They had conversations strictly directly with, you know, wardrobe, with the other actors, so that they could learn about what their role is, and they could develop their characters. And this was all done independently from me. So I didn't actually have to, I didn't have time to work with it that much, you know, in pre-production. I just kind of like crossed my fingers that these guys know what they're doing. I was in constant communication with them. They said that, yep, I've been on the phone with so-and-so, and we're running lines together. Don't worry about it, Nathan, we got it. So it was a big leap of faith.
That's great.
In the whole thing, but it worked out. And I attribute it to just having paid attention to casting the best people that were available.
Now, one thing that, you know, and part of this exact episode would be for people out there who maybe want to make a film themselves, especially a feature, because, you know, and I love short films. I make them, you make them, and they're great. But at some point, as an artist, you do say, man, I got to make a feature. I got to see if I can step up to that level. And one thing that for me is always the toughest part about a feature film is the scheduling and the money. And those are just two giant things. So let's talk about the money if we could. Yeah. And you can tell me as much details as you want or withhold, but was there, going into this process, was there, say, a $20,000 budget, or a $50,000, or was there a set amount of money you had towards the actual production of the film? If so, how did you generate some of that money?
Well, when I originally, when I read the script and I started to develop a budget for it, I really didn't know what it was going to cost, and I sought the advice of a lot of people in the area that do line producing. And I started off getting feedback, oh, this could cost as much as $100,000, $80,000. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do that. I had a little bit of funds set aside to put my own money into this, but one of the things I learned is that, it's better off using other people's money than your own.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think, it's very important, because the chances of seeing that money back are very slim.
Right.
It's a lottery ticket, making a feature film with the ultimate goal to sell it or make a profit on it. It's unpredictable. There's so many things that can derail a movie that will cause it to not find distribution. So, I needed to make this movie for as little money as possible, but still have a professional look to it. So it was this very, very slippery slope. What is that number going to be? How much is it going to be dedicated to production and post-production? And I knew that one of the things I didn't want to do is completely neglect the expenses for post-production and marketing and all that, which they say at least a third of your budget, if not more, should be set aside for that.
Right.
So what I did was I did put a few thousand of my own money into it originally to cover the production, and I did run a crowdfunding campaign about a year ago. And I knew that I was only going to be able to raise enough money to cover production expenses. And we ran a successful campaign using Indiegogo, and we were able to get the movie in the can. I had to put a little extra in that I wanted to, which was a little unpleasant, but at that point I was so far deep into it.
So you can't go back.
You can't go back. Right. And so we stretched the dollar as far as we could.
Right.
And then I knew that we were going to have more shoot days, and we had our post-production expenses. We didn't raise enough to cover our post, so I knew that I'm gonna have to run another campaign or some other kind of marketing to raise more funds. So, reason why I had to wait so long. It was a long shoot. We had to go back in the summer, and then, I'm now in post-production. So how are we going to cover post-production expenses? I don't have any more money to put into this.
Right.
But what we have now that we didn't have in the beginning is some materials that can help sell the movie. We have a trailer that we saw already. We have actual on-set photos. We have interviews with the cast and crew. We have so much marketing and materials that we can now put out there to help us, sell our film.
You have proof that you did something.
We have proof that we did something. That's what I'm trying to get to.
But that's so important.
And that is huge, because we actually raised funds, all the funds we needed to get the movie in the can, with just a concept, with just an idea.
Right.
It was just me kind of shouting out into the ether, hey, we're raising funds for this awesome movie, but I had nothing to show.
Right.
I had concept art. I stole images from the internet. The movie's gonna kind of look like this. These are the headshots of the actors that we're gonna have in the movie.
And use what's called a crowdsourcing or
crowdfunding campaign,
right.
On Indiegogo. And we raised the funds we needed to just on the concept of it, which is amazing. But now we are launching another crowdfunding campaign, and we have all these other great marketing materials. We have a trailer that's on YouTube. We have interviews, and I'm doing these things now called Quotes of the Day, where we take a screen capture and we're using that as marketing. And great interviews. We had a week ago, we took the 4 main actors from the movie, and we did a live actors roundtable with the 4 main actors, just talking about, their acting strategies, what it was like working on the set of Higher Methods, and it was just this roundtable discussion. There used to be something on an online show, I think that Jon Favreau used to host, called Dinner for Five.
Oh, I remember that
something
show.
like that. I loved to watch this because he had all these Hollywood actors coming, and they're just kind of riffing, exactly. And that's what we kind of put together for this whole thing with Jamie and Abigail and Mike and Aaron. It's this kind of riffing, and I just throw out topics onto the table, and they would just kind of chat about it. We did a live Facebook event about a week ago for that. It was a lot of fun. So we're doing a lot of really cool things to drum up interest in this. And our main goal right now is to obviously raise the funds we need to finish the film, but just to raise the profile of the movie. We're at a stage now where, the prospect of releasing this in some capacity is coming in the next 5-6 months, and we need to grow an audience.
Right.
Which is something you should be doing from the very beginning, but it's hard when I'm wearing all the hats at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm putting lots and lots of hours into getting the word out there about the film. The crowdfunding campaign is one aspect of it. I've launched another Facebook group called Audition Nightmares, which basically ties into Higher Methods, because it's the movie. We haven't really talked much about the subject matter of the movie yet, but it is about being an actor, being a performer, and kind of the hypocrisies of the entertainment industry and how you kind of sell your soul to achieve fame.
And there's this hierarchy character that Aaron plays, this evil, corrupt acting coach.
Yes. So I created this Facebook group called Auditioning Nightmares. In the movie, there's actually a couple scenes in the trailer for it where our main character, Matthew, goes on this audition with this famed Hollywood producer. And it is this terrifying experience that he goes through. And that kind of ties into, I wanted to talk to actors about, what is your experience when you go on auditions?
Right.
Because I'm not an actor. I have done acting in movies, but every time I'm cast, it's like, hey, play the guy behind the bar or the thug or something like that. And I really wanted to network with actors, because I also think actors are my audience for this movie as well. So if I could kind of bridge that gap, if I could get actors to be interested in this movie, but I'm also giving them kind of a platform where they could share their experiences and stories, what it's like to be an actor going on auditions and the horrors and the triumphs of doing that, that's a great way of cross-pollinating these two things and getting my audience to be interested in this movie and also giving them something as well. So it's one of the strategies that we're doing among many to promote the film.
There's a lot of stuff you can do with that, because now I think with recent nationally known scandals, let's put it that way to be nice, people do have an interest. Well, how do these movies get made?
Yeah.
You know, and so what you're doing is kind of taking that from, not really, you're really looking at it from the actor who your gentleman from New York plays, going through this trials and tribulations and nightmare, hellish scenario. And having seen the play, I know a little bit about what the story is about, but knowing that what Aaron can pull off as an actor in this thing is going to be great, you know. And now the actor that plays the lead, what was his name again? The gentleman from New York.
Michael Cristoforo.
Is the sister character still in the film version?
Yeah, the sister character played by Kayla Caulfield.
Okay.
Who?
Oh yeah, she's great. I've worked with her.
Young
Yeah.
actress, amazing talent.
Yes.
And she is busy, busy, busy.
Right.
She is. I think definitely is going to be a name someday.
Yeah, she's great.
She's determined. Yeah.
And so then you also have that thing with brother and sister love, affection, you know, and
Yeah.
sibling bond, and how important that is.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to give away too much, but what I do want to do is share some photographs, still photos that you brought. So we'll take a look when our gentleman at the station, Cody Piexato, if I said that right, and Kevin Vindinha can get us the photographs. Here we go with Higher Methods.
Yep.
You get the website, highermethods.com. This is a really cool picture. Abigail looks great, of course, and this poor guy looks like he's a little worse for wear, but she looks so intent, like it's almost like you can see that she's about to say something important, and he's not quite up for listening at this point.
You know, there's a lot of photos here, and you know they're all going to be kind of out of context in a lot of ways. But I mostly picked these because I just love the imagery in these, and I think it showcases the quality of Ken's work,
right,
and the intensity of what the actors are doing. But yeah, it's I'm not going to probably get too much into the meaning behind some of these shots, but it's I think they're really good.
Here's the next one we've got. Now this is who are these actresses?
So we got Jamie Lynn Bagley in the left.
Okay.
And we got Mike in the middle, and another actress that has a small role in this, Mary Beth Paul.
Yes, very
who
good.
is amazing, and again another very intense actress who was a lot of fun to work with, and she was with us for about 4 or 5 days on the shoot.
I think his beard is kind of growing on me. Here's our buddy Aaron.
Aaron, yep.
That's a cool outfit with that purple collar popped up. I like that.
Yeah, and this was all happy accident with we shot all the classroom scenes at the Mixed Magic Theater.
Oh, cool.
And they had these blue seats in there.
Pawtucket, Rhode Island, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which was saved us because we originally were going to shoot all these classroom scenes at another location in this warehouse,
right,
with all this like empty background. Like, everything was gonna be kind of like spotlighty.
Right.
And then that location in the middle of the production kind of fell through.
Yeah.
And we had to move, and our wardrobe specialist, who was Lily Spencer.
Oh, she's a good friend of mine.
She has a strong connection with Ricardo Pitts-Wiley.
Yes, great guy.
Great guy, and we struck a deal to use the Mixed Magic space for about 5 days.
Wow.
And yeah, it was intense, and we had to get a lot done in those 5 days.
Well, he looks really cool in this.
Yep.
Oh, here's Abigail. That's a great shot of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been on the Messier Mantra, great actress. I met her through an acting class in Somerville, Mass. about 3 years ago. Mike Gonza ran it, and Abigail did blow everybody away, just at an acting class, let alone a film production. So she looks great. And here's Michael again. Michael, right?
Michael, yep. And this is at the Dedham Community Theater.
Okay.
Which Paul is the owner of that, and I called him. Listen, we really need a theater for a few hours one day.
Right.
He said, absolutely. Come in like on a Saturday, or what was it? It was a Thursday morning before they opened. He opened it up for us, gave it to us for free, and we shot a couple scenes of him. This is one of the foundation moments in the movie where Mike is at a theater and he sees his sister,
right,
who's been missing for 10 years, and she hasn't aged a day. So he's here looking at this movie, and it's just also very fantasy dream type of atmosphere.
I like his facial expression is very spot on for that.
Yeah.
It shows a lot in the image. That's great. And these are all still shots from Ken, your DP, your
yes,
cinematographer.
these are all, yep. And again, another one, Abigail, and the movie begins with this shot here where she kind of plays the mystery woman. We don't really know who she is. And she had a lot of fun with the hat.
Well, the hat
we'll
looks
say.
great,
And I
yeah.
love that white rim that goes around it, which again, which I attribute all to Ken.
There was a
his lighting.
famous photograph back in the 90s or the 80s of it's the name of a woman and then the word smoking. And Madonna used that image in one of her music videos, and that's sort of in the ballpark of this. She looks great. That looks really cool. Oh, this is a good one. Yep.
Yep, this was a day we had at the Dark Lady nightclub in downtown Providence.
Right.
By far the best time I ever had on a shoot in my whole life.
Wow.
We had three of our main actors and about 55 extras show up, and they danced their butts off in this big nightclub scene.
And this is Jamie Lynn?
This is Jamie Lynn Bagley, and she plays Shannon, who he meets her for the first time at the nightclub, and their chemistry was intense and amazing on set, and you could just see that her character, she is kind of like this kind of the seductress type, but she's an actress in the movie, and she is somebody who will do anything to get ahead. So she kind of leads him on the journey in a lot of ways, but we're not really too sure what her motives are. Is she there really to help him, or is she there to use him to get ahead? So
Great angles on her face, on her cheekbones and everything. She looks fantastic. Yep. She looks like she's getting younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Good for her. Higher methods.
And another one of Mike at the nightclub, which I love the color of this right here. There's really no post work that I did on this. This is pretty much the image that Ken shot.
Nice.
And the colors in this just are dazzling.
His eye is great. His right eye, that twinkle of white in the middle of his eyeball is great. I think the beard works. And this is, now what's this?
This is kind of a continuation of that other shot that we saw in that scene. And I just really love it because this was one of the hardest shots to get, because we have Mike in the foreground who's sitting in this chair, and he's approached by Abigail or by Kayla,
right.
Also kind of leading him on this journey. And then she walks off into the black distance behind him and then opens this door where light is pouring in. And this kind of leads to the nightclub scene. So this is literally when he goes through the door, he is going down the rabbit hole into this. So that's kind of, and this is the only time we actually see like a door in the movie. And that was one of the themes I had in this movie, that we never are outside. We never see a world that's beyond the room that we're in. It's a very claustrophobic experience. It's meant to kind of simulate like being stuck in celluloid, which his characters are. So this is the one time where someone opens a door and someone really goes through it. And that has a lot of meaning for the movie, that maybe he's leaving this life going to the afterlife. Maybe he is going on this trip or whatever it is. It's open to interpretation, but that's what this is.
Cool.
Yep.
Oh, this is a good confrontational scene.
Yep, this is Aaron and Mike when he is he just goes after him. He tears him to shreds in these acting class scenes. And in the background there is amazing actor Brad Curtin, who is a regular in a lot of Lenny's plays.
Well, Brad's got a great facial expression here of himself, which is, it's really a well shot image, and Brad's doing his part also, because although he's in technically the background, he's really got a kind of a smug kind of expression, like you're gonna get it, you deserve this.
Oh, you read it perfectly correct. And Brad's character, we haven't talked about Brad much in this scene. He's in this movie a decent amount as well, but he kind of plays like the class like kiss up in a lot of ways, and you can't really see it, but he's holding John Edward Marcus's briefcase in his arms.
Oh wow!
And there's a shot where Aaron throws the bag at him, and he just grabs this like, this is the greatest gift in the whole world. and I cracked everybody up on set. And when you see the film, you'll see what I'm talking about. But he's holding that like it's his teddy bear.
And Michael's starting to look a little bit a really famous actor, the guy from everything. Infinitely Polar Bear, Mark Ruffalo, was that the actor?
Oh, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, is Michael starting to look like Ruffalo a little bit?
I didn't get that.
With the beard?
But sure.
Yeah, we'll give him something. Yeah. But what I'm getting is getting that New York actor vibe from this guy.
Oh, totally.
Like character, almost late 70s,
Well, that's what
type of guy.
Michael Imperioli. That's what we were talking about before,
Right.
and that's what reminded me of in a lot of ways. So,
Well, I really enjoy those photographs. So if people, and I think the website is highermethods.com,
Yep.
right? Now, good for you for getting the name of your film with the .com, because a lot of people would just kind of say, well, we'll just get a social media page, or this page. I still say you gotta get the .com just to have it, and I think it's the best thing.
It's like $12 a year or something
Right.
like that to register. And I already have. It's also, I have IamFilmworks.com, which is my
Right.
production company, and it's not like I'm paying for a whole other hosting for it. So everything
Right.
kind of stems off of one hosted. I'm not going to get into technical stuff
Sure,
here
yeah.
today, but basically, you can buy a domain for like $10 or $12 or whatever it is now for a whole year or more, and it's really cheap. It's worth it. And because I think one of the things that people underestimate when you're making film is to have a strong website.
Right.
Having a Facebook page or just Twitter or Instagram, whatever you're using these days, it's not enough. You need to have a landing page that really sells your film, that explains it. Because you go on the social media page, it's this constant scroll of information.
Right.
You go on my Facebook page right now for Higher Methods, you're not going to learn much more about the movie other than the fact that I'm raising funds for the movie. You're not going to see the important information right away. So this is why, always link to your website whenever you can, and have a strong website that looks polished and professional. And I use a Weebly, which is a company that it's just
Right.
basically cut and paste things in there. It's not fancy, but at least when you go to it, it's not hideous. We're like, oh, I can't look at this.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's got the current information on there.
And it's
So-
yours.
and it's mine.
You're not under the domain of whatever social media company it would be. Because, hey, guess what? Some of these social media companies come and go too.
Yeah.
At one point, MySpace was the big thing, and now it's not. So, I mean, it's smart, I think, to have your own .com for your own projects.
Yeah.
We've got about 12 minutes left. What can people do to support? Can they go to the website? Can the highermethods.com? Is that what you'd like them to do?
Well, I anticipate that when people get to see this, the campaign will likely be over.
Right.
But we are going to be continuing to raise funds for the film, because even beyond this, the more we can raise, the better. That's more money that we could put toward festival submissions. There's more that we could put toward the art department. So I'm seeking funding to get the film completed, but if people could go beyond and help us, that's amazing. So the best thing to do, honestly, is just to contact me directly, and we may extend the crowdfunding campaign. There are, I think, ways that it can go on for an extra month or two if it reached its goal. And we are going to be doing some traditional fundraising as well.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be through the campaign. That's the other thing. So
and people can know that there's always...
And this is also important to mention. There are perks that are on the campaign, and once the campaign ends, if people are turned off by the fact, well, the campaign's over, these perks aren't available, I can honor any perk that comes in after the campaign
You're the
closes as
master
well.
of your own ship with this thing.
Exactly.
So if people are like, hey, I really love this concept, or I love what you've done here,
Exactly.
how can I help out? It's never
Yeah.
too late to get someone to help out.
Exactly. We'll have screening tickets. I have
Right.
digital downloads. We have amazing blooper reels and interviews, and I've got these great collector's cards that all the actors signed recently. There is an unbelievable amount of content that we can share with anybody who wants to help us out as a thank you.
Because people don't realize that even when you have a completed film, and I've learned this the hard way, okay, now you're going to pay $40 or $50 to enter a film festival.
Yeah.
And people, it's not that they don't have the capacity to understand, but a lot of people, if they've ever directed and produced a film with very little money, startup, and trying to do your own thing, like you're raising a family, so with 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is not easy stuff, folks. So anyone who's interested in helping Nathan Suher with Higher Methods, it's a great cast, and really go over there. Having said all that, what's next? Because now that you've got, well, let me ask you this: when you're directing this film, do you start, man, I'm having so much fun, but for the next film I want to direct, I want to do this differently, or I want to do this, or I'm going to get this same actor but in a different role, or maybe we'll get this other actor that we didn't use for this one, or do you get to the point where, although you're still riding the lightning that is Higher Methods, is there another project kind of simmering or starting, or what's going on?
It's funny. Filmmaking is a very intoxicating experience, and you
Right.
can have a very positive or negative reaction to it. Some people do this and like, I don't ever want to do this again. It's exhausting. I need to take a big break. I sometimes teeter back and forth on this whole thing, but for the most part, I can't wait to do the next film. And, and we have something lined up already. But what I'm getting at is that the intoxicating experience of this gives me such a high,
Right.
a natural high for this. And working with these people, working with these actors, and working with the people that I'm working with on post as well, has been a dream come true. So it's in some ways I don't want it, and I want the movie to be finished, but it's like we're sharing ideas. Well, why don't we do this for the next movie? And it's like this roller coaster ride. But yes, the point is, yes, I do have another film that we are in the very early stages of pre-production on. I originally thought it was a little overambitious, maybe doing something before the end of the year, but we're probably going to do it sometime in 2018 now, and it's a film called The Assassination of Western Civilization.
Okay.
It is another...
So, romantic comedy?
Yeah. And this may ring some bells. It is another screenplay that was adapted from a stage play from Lenny Schwartz.
Was it The Social Avenger, that one, or a different one?
It used to be called Newcastle.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you saw that
I don't think I saw that one. Was that a 4-actor piece? Well, tell me about it, because I've seen a bunch of Lenny stuff.
So Newcastle, or as we're coining it now, The Assassination of Western Civilization, which is a tongue twister, but a lot more interesting title, I think.
Sure.
Is a story about a tabloid writer.
Okay.
Who is... I'm trying to explain this and not give too much away. He's a tabloid writer who witnesses the assassination of a senator. We're getting into some interesting stuff now, timely stuff now. And he is visited by the FBI, and it's this pretty much a play between two actors, two people, FBI agent and this tabloid writer who has this mysterious past, who we're not too sure. He's denying that he did this, but the FBI agent keeps grilling him, and it's this game of this power shift back and forth. Who has the advantage in the room at the time? And it's a very fascinating character study of these two actors. And what we're gonna do something very different with this movie, though. Whereas Higher Methods was this gigantic 19-day shoot, big production with a crew of 25 people on any given day. This film is going to be a feature, but our goal, I'm not going to promise this, but our goal right now is for this to be shot in one take.
That's pretty incredible.
In one room with our two actors and a cast of others that will be rotating through. But we're going to be spending our time not on filming it, but on the choreography and pre-production and blocking and all that, and how we're going to work a camera into this and light it so that we're not seeing the strings holding, do this in a very creative way. And finding the location is another key element to this. So there's a lot going on with that. We started to receive some audition tapes that Lenny, my friend Lenny, the writer, is kind of sifting through right now. He's kind of helping me as kind of a producer on this. He's going to kind of do some of that in the background, and I'm going to be kind of building up the infrastructure on the other end of it, and we'll meet in the middle probably early in 2018 and go from there. But I'm really excited about it because it's kind of a I don't want it to be a cliche thing, but I've seen a few of these movies now where it's all done in one take, but I think this is a very different way of doing it.
I think it's very exciting.
And again, it was a play before, so it kind of lends itself to this one-act, one-shot structure. So we just need to find the right people, probably people that have a theater background as well, that can handle this material and this choreography that we're going to have to do for this. But I'm really excited about it.
I think I've seen 95% of Lenny's theater work, and I think this is in the 5% I haven't seen. Because I of all of Lenny's plays, I think this one and his comic book one are the only two that I haven't seen. But I've seen most of his stuff, so this would be very exciting for me because this is some of the material I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Yeah.
Lenny does some great stuff. I've always been saying that some of his Buster Keaton and his Lucille Ball and his Marx Brothers, he needs to make those into films eventually, but I know that the copyrights...
Yeah, that's a little bit more difficult when you have like a known celebrity or so that's associated with it. I think it's a whole nother can of worms. Yeah.
The Assassination of Western Culture?
Western Civilization.
The Assassination of Western Civilization.
We wanted something that was really catchy and begin with the letter A.
Yeah, for marketing purposes. That's
it's something to consider because marketing is something that it's easily overlooked by filmmakers.
Right.
And it's something that I'm I try to be very aware of is how we're going to sell the movie once it's done, and that's the real game. You know, is eventually making a profit on these.
There's a word that I never heard until I got deep into it, which will kill you: deliverables, aspect ratios, you know, closed captioning for the hearing impaired, which is very important, obviously. But some of these things, when you're making a film and you're just kind of putting it together, it doesn't always occur to a filmmaker. Like, wow, I need to have a budget or some type of plan for when I do closed captioning or when I do my aspect ratio's got to be right.
That reminds me to plug something else which relates to closed captioning. 3 of my short films are now streaming on Amazon Prime.
Great.
And getting those closed captioned was a major headache, but Amazon requires it. But if anyone's interested in seeing some recent work of mine, go into Amazon and just type in Nathan Suher. Well, it's not there, but you'll see my name somewhere. But you just type that in, and you'll see 3 of the my shorts that are now streaming on Amazon Prime. But that'll give some people a taste of what I've done recently. But closed captioning for Amazon was challenging, you know, and that's something that you have to budget for.
There's scary little somethings. Yeah. There's the romantic piece that you did that I really liked that won an award or 2.
Right there was with Ryan Hanley, and it was a silent film. Playing tribute to like Charlie Chaplin type films.
That's a fun one.
And there was a suspense thriller called Next Door, which was kind of like Hitchcockian type of thriller, which was a lot of fun and disturbing. And I got some people that just emailed me saying this is the most offensive thing they've ever seen, which, you know.
When you're like, well, I got something else for you.
Yeah, you thought that was bad.
Yeah, right. Well, now we're coming to the end of the show, pretty much, but I want to say, I did prepare you for this. Messier Mantra. Now, I ask each guest if they have, or maybe you don't, but maybe you do. Maybe if something's come to you.
Well, I've been thinking about this since you prepped me for this a while ago, because, you know, it's hard to distill something down to a sentence or something, but I've been thinking about this, and I think something that I've learned over the years, because, you know, I've been making shorts for 10 years, and it's easy to be overambitious and fall into the pitfalls, but I think the most important thing is to learn patience.
Wow.
It's that filmmaking is a marathon.
Right.
And nobody really becomes an overnight success. They're usually sometimes 5, 10, 20 years in the making, and this is something that I feel like I'm in a comfortable place knowing that nothing I do likely is going to make me a millionaire or is going to make me famous, and that is not the goal. But to have patience to do projects right and give them the space they need to develop is the most important thing. So patience when you're making movies is the key.
Patience. It's not just a Guns N' Roses song anymore, right? I mean, you're right, because it's tough, because as a filmmaker, you know, myself, it can be so frustrating when you feel that things are not going your way, or that the pieces, and that inner conflict of, am I pushing not hard enough, or am I pushing too hard? Am I pushing the same people, whether it's social media or family and friends, am I pushing the same people or even actors too much to give me too much? Am I not reaching out the tentacles, so to speak, to other resources, especially human resources, you know? And so I think it's a big part of filmmaking. We'll have you on another episode to talk about it. It's just, I think sometimes people forget about the human aspect. We get so caught up in the cameras and what lights or what advancements in the cameras, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, this is a human business.
It is.
Someone's got to come up with these ideas. Someone's got to portray these characters. Someone has to use that equipment. Without a human being running the equipment, there's nothing.
Exactly.
And you have to have patience with a term we used to use, the human factor. You know, we can have all these wonderful things set up for a very tight timeline and a very tight budget, but the human factor is going to come, and it's going to do what it wants to do.
It's all about the humans, because, you know, I use this term, like, people get caught up in, like, gear porn.
Right.
That's what I call it, you know, cameras, lights, all that, when really the actors, the people, the stories is what's going to carry everything. It really is. You don't need to worry about all that.
Well, I want to thank you, Nathan Suher, and your whole team, cast and crew, Lenny and everybody, Ken, your DP, Abigail, for Higher Methods. Congratulations on your film, and we look forward for people to be able to see it.
Thank you.
For coming on the show. Thanks for watching Messier Mantra with Nathan Suher. We'll see you next time, right here on Messier Mantra.